It is primary night here in Connecticut. Polls closed a couple of hours ago, and initial results are starting to come into our newsroom.
Fox 61 political reporter Emma Wulfhorst is here with us now in studio to break it down. So, Emma, what can you tell us?
Well, Sarah, Brent, less than 10 minutes after polls closed tonight, the Associated Press declared incumbent President Joe Biden and Donald Trump the winners of the Democratic and Republican nominations, respectively. While this isn't much of a surprise here, there were other candidates on the ballots, and they did get a few votes as well. For the Democrats, voters saw Biden's name alongside Dean Phillips and Marianne Williamson, who have already dropped out of the race. With about 65% of precincts reporting right now, Biden secured about 85% of the vote. For Republicans, former President Donald Trump was joined on the ballot by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, who have also already dropped out of the race. Trump, like Biden, the overwhelming party pick with 78% of the vote tonight. Turnout across the state still low, sitting at around 9% at last check. But despite this low voter turnout, this was actually a historic election here in Connecticut.
Pretty low turnout in general, but I thought it was a resounding success.
For the very first time in Connecticut, voters were able to cast their ballots in the presidential primary before primary day.
My hat goes off to all the registrars and town clerks who have pitched in many dozens of hours to make early voting a success.
Residents had 4 extra days to vote before the primary, and more than 18,000 people took that opportunity and voted early in Connecticut. But this wasn't the only reason this presidential primary was historic. It's also happening on a new date. In the past, Connecticut's presidential primary election was held on the last Tuesday in April. But state lawmakers decided last year to move up the date to try and make Connecticut's primary more influential. Even with early voting and an earlier date, turnout was still low.
This isn't a competitive primary. A lot of people have been voting for different reasons. Some people believe it's important to vote in every election, as I do. Some want it to be a part of history, just people who wanted to be first to cast a ballot.
Another reason some people showed up to the polls to vote uncommitted.
Biden has to earn our vote.
There's been a national push for Democrats to vote uncommitted in presidential primaries to send a message to Biden to support a ceasefire in Gaza.
So many people are frustrated by the amount of times they've called their representatives and have just been summarily ignored. There is another way for us to get our message across and to force our representatives to listen to us.
Those leading the push for uncommitted at the polls say that last bubble on the ballot holds power, and they don't think it's a throwaway vote.
We're going to hold them accountable, and they don't have our votes. If they want to keep their jobs, they have to actually change.
And that uncommitted vote here in Connecticut showing some support. We're getting those numbers in now, and we'll bring you more coming up at 10:30. Sarah, Brent.